What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the Only Sports Podcast. That's right. We're the only sports podcast out there. This is attempt number 3 at this episode. The first time we got interrupted by children. The second time we were too tired and half of us too drunk to record a good podcast. And last week we couldn't record the podcast because of a whole scheduling snafu, which leads me to ask the question, Casino, last week was your fault why we did not record. So why do you hate our fans?
We need more of them.
So you'll hate them the more you'll hate them less the more we have.
Yeah, go recruit people.
Okay. That's great. But you were fishing with your family?
Yeah, I was out on a 8-day fishing trip, and we did attempt to try and schedule, but time zones were different. Spending 6+ hours out on the lake for 6 days straight, that takes a lot out of you.
Yeah. The only thing I deleted the first podcast because we literally got 10 minutes into it and then it was just interrupted. But the second podcast, we legitimately did a full podcast. The only thing I will post from that is my rant about why I hate championship parades. I'll put that at the end of this episode.
It was great.
But as for this week, Casino, of course, we missed week 2, where you picked 10 of the games correct, and now you don't get to brag about it because in week 3, we both only picked 5 games correct. So we're going to be doing a quick review of week 3, picking the week 4 games, and then maybe talking about some other stuff if we have time. But Casino, just how you doing? You feeling okay?
I'm hanging in there.
All right. Week 3, obviously the big stories out of week 3 are the Dolphins beating the Bills. I feel like is the number one. What is it? The number one game from this past weekend. So everybody was doubting the Dolphins. Does this make the Dolphins legit?
Yeah. I think they were legit going into this game, but this definitely solidifies that. Buffalo had plenty of opportunities to win that game. Just going off of the box score alone, it shows that Josh Allen threw for 63 times with 42 completions. So it's not the lack that they didn't have the ball. Miami stood their ground. It was just a really good game. This could be the 2 best teams, honestly, now coming out of the AFC, because what's happening to the AFC West,
which we'll talk about
that here in a bit.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's panic time at all for Buffalo. I still have them Super Bowl chance, winning the AFC, having the best record, all of that jazz. Yeah. But no, the Dolphins are definitely a force to be reckoned with, and they are going to put some more wins up on that board.
I agree. Do you think this game legitimized Tua, or do you think there are still question marks with him? I mean, he had a fine game. He was 13 for 18, 186 with a touchdown. He got knocked out of the game for only 3 plays before he was back in the game. There's obviously questions pending if the Dolphins staff handled that well, because he looked like he got absolutely rocked when his head bounced off the ground like a bowling ball, or a basketball, I should say. But
bowling ball, no, basketball.
Well, it didn't bounce that high. It just did the thud, and then if you're throwing it down a lane. So Tua Tagovailoa, is he legit? Do you see him being the Dolphins starter for the next year, 3 years, 5 years? Do you think he's the franchise QB?
He's not a bad quarterback. And if he has a decent year this year because his team is stacked, then he's going to get a longer contract. He's definitely going to be their guy for a little while. But I wouldn't be surprised if they, with how injury prone he is, to have a better solid backup.
Yeah.
But they do have probably the best backup in the NFL right now. With Teddy Bridgewater.
Whoa! You're forgetting Gardner Minshew. Minshew's number one backup.
You just like that stash.
I love the stash. Gardner Minshew, he could be a starter on 10 NFL teams right now. I really think that.
And Bridgewater 11.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
I could see it. But so as for the Bills, I think this game just had the same question marks the Bills have always had, which is just where is the running game? Zach Moss had only 4 carries. Devin Singletary only had 9 carries. Like we've said this in the past, Josh Allen is their offense. He's their lead rusher. He's obviously their lead passer. So it's him and Stephon Diggs. If him and Stephon Diggs, one of them have an off day, like that's the way to beat the Bills. I hadn't watched this game previous to us recording our last episode. It was actually on the NFL Network yesterday. So I watched this whole replay, and I'll tell you what, I don't know how Josh Allen, I don't know how he got to 400 yards. It seemed like the Miami defense seems legit. They just were all over wide receiver or every pass catching option in that game. I mean, Stephon Diggs had a real quiet 7 receptions for 74 yards. Like I watched that game and he didn't stick out at all. Like they completely shut down that passing offense. We talk about bend, don't break defenses. The Miami defense was bend, don't break the whole day because they were shutting them down. Josh Allen was getting little shots here and there, but I mean, they only scored 19 points and I'm surprised they scored that many, like rewatching that game. That I was really impressed with that Miami defense.
Yeah, it's a very strange game on just the outcome of the score total when Josh Allen put up 400 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, 400 yards, you should have at least one more in there.
Yeah. I mean, it's the length of the field 4 times and he walks away with 19 points. Like, well, no, the field's 110 yards from end zone to end zone, right? Because they always talk about that Antonio Cromartie. Yeah, but I guess that's the back of the end zone. So yeah, it's 100 yards. What are you talking about, Casino? It's 100 yards. But the second,
I was going to let you bury yourself on that one. So well done.
The second most noteworthy game from this weekend was the other only 3-0 team. Obviously, my Philadelphia Eagles destroying the Washington Commanders. I won't say the other word once this entire podcast, but my Eagles
the previous 3 times we tried this episode, he did it about 10 times.
Dude, last time I think I called them the R word at least 6 times. But Commanders. So the final score was 24-8. That game, by the fourth or by like halfway through the third quarter, Carson Wentz had like 34 yards. He'd been sacked like 7 times up to that point. They had I watched that whole game, obviously every snap of it. Wentz was bad. The wide receivers for the Redskins, God damn it. The wide receivers for the Commanders just did not want to catch a pass. Carson Wentz was hitting them in their hands. They were wide open, and it was literally just dropping. It happened. Their wide receivers at least had 7-8 drops. It was ridiculous. And combine this with how Philly shut down the Vikings and then how they destroyed the Lions in the first half. Are the Eagles legit, Casino?
They're too legit to quit, my friend. I don't know what's going on here. I see the same truck circling, like going through our community, but I think I've seen that truck down the street. Anyway, just weird. They're too legit to quit here. Now I'd said it and I've backed down on what I was going to say. Anyway, Jalen Hurts, 22 for 35. I mean, the completion rating doesn't look the best, but I mean, 340 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did everything he needed to do. And yeah, it didn't. They only scored all in that one quarter, but doesn't matter. They absolutely just crushed it. Anyway,
Yeah. So watch the thing I really am confident about the Eagles. Obviously, it's my team, so I feel like I'm overly critical of them. Is the one thing I will give them credit for is their defense appears to be legit. Their play calling switched over to from Coach Sirianni to I can't remember who he gave the play calling duties to, but since they made that switch, their offense can beat you with the run game. They've always had, in this new regime of Eagles football, they've always had a top 3 rushing offense with whoever they plug in there just because their offensive line's so good. The question mark coming into this season was, can Jalen Hurts be a pocket passer or just somebody who can move the ball with his arm rather than his legs? Well, he's proving it so far. Him and Tua are at the top of the league as the pass leaders, and he's as good of a passer as he is a runner, and maybe the only person in the league who's better at him as a rusher is Lamar Jackson. So
which is the top for the MVP candidate right now.
Yeah. And Lamar Jackson might be the best rushing quarterback ever when it's all said and done, if he can stay healthy and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I am cautiously optimistic, but I will continue to pick the Eagles to lose every week because that is now
You're just an Eagles fan.
Yeah, that's now my bandwagon to ride out. They play the Jaguars this coming week, which nice segue game there. The Jaguars, which was one of your upset picks of the week, Casino, absolutely
one of the few picks I got right.
Yeah, absolutely destroyed the Chargers. And the only reason you picked them to be upset was because Herbert was going to be out of the game. Well, Herbert played and they still got absolutely just rolled on 38-10. This was the late Sunday game I watched all of because the Packers Buccaneers game was so absolutely boring. So I saw all this game. I mean, the Jaguars just absolutely destroyed him. Herbert didn't look like he could do anything. Are the Jaguars legit, Casino? And are you worried about who you picked coming out of the AFC West, which was the Los Angeles Chargers?
For the Chargers, I mean, I guess I'll hit the panic mode for them now. Yeah, they need to stay healthy. They have a lot of people out right now.
Well, now that you mentioned that, let me say who they have out. They lost Rashawn Slater, their left tackle. They lost Joey Bosa, who is sidelined indefinitely with a groin injury, which you never want to hear the word indefinitely in groin unless it's, you're Zach Wilson and you're the moms in his neighborhood. So, and then Keenan Allen is out. So it's literally the thing that makes me so concerned about the Chargers injuries is it's not just plug and play guys. It's literally Hall of Fame potential, if everything goes according to plan, Hall of Fame defensive end, right? Joey Bosa, like a game changer. Their first round pick, who they were putting on the offensive line, protecting Justin Herbert's blind side, right? On that left side. And then they have their safety, I know they're also missing, and their star wide receiver. So it's literally Pro Bowl talent at important positions on the field are now just gone for question mark.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, we'll keep continuing talking about this AFC West that we were so hyped on. But just even the Chargers being as hurt as they are, I still would have probably picked Jacksonville to win that game if Herbert was out. But if Herbert was in, everybody else was in, I probably would have gone Chargers. But Jags, we talked about this. They should be a good team this year.
Yeah,
they got your old coach. Your old coach out of Philly. And I mean, Trevor Lawrence. Thank you. He's a fighter. He wants to compete, and it showed. He was 28 for 39, 3 touchdowns, 262 yards. He was just slinging the ball, and it was absolutely fantastic to see him finally get probably one of his best wins of his career so far in the NHL. Or NFL. I'm sorry, preseason hockey is on my mind. Oy.
Well, and I think the real for the offense of the Jaguars, it's been James Robinson that has really been the breakout star for me. Their running back, he rushed for 17 yards or 17 carries, 100 yards, 1 touchdown. They also have just weapons on the outside with Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones. Like,
and
they have a real offense.
You know, you say that what he did in the backfield, but also he was 3 for 3, only 16 yards, but like
that still adds another dynamic. Yeah,
he's still catching the ball. You know, like they're looking good. They're looking good. I think they finally got rid of that cancer of a coach, and now they've got somebody in there that can actually excel the talent that they have on that team and get them to where they need to be.
Well, and yeah, Doug Peterson, he's proven he can take a team that had no shot whatsoever and lead them to a Super Bowl, right? He did that with an Eagles team. He did that with a backup quarterback. He did that with, a talented roster, but not a roster that at the beginning of that season, everybody was like, this is the Super Bowl champions. Like, he just knows how to put people in the right places to make it like show their full potential. And we're seeing that with, everybody knew Trevor Lawrence was good. He just needed a coach who wasn't maybe the worst coach in NFL history, like just based on just how much he sucked with a team that they really didn't change anything. They added a couple pieces here and there, but yeah, then they're beating the team everybody picked to be the number 1 seed coming out of the AFC, maybe with Buffalo, or at least on Buffalo's level, so yeah. But we move on to the game I just mentioned a little bit ago was Buccaneers and Packers. Casino, who is, with the Eagles being 3-0, we obviously have talked about mostly AFC teams, but the NFC feels much more wide open. The Rams also won this week. We have the fraudulent Giants who were 3-0 or who were trying to be 3-0 getting kind of smacked on, and they didn't look good at all. So in the what feels like a wide open NFC, we have the Vikings, 49ers failing to the Broncos. Are the Packers and Buccaneers, do you think they're better than the Eagles? Do you think they're at the top of the NFC? Who is your top NFC team right now?
Top NFC team right now, Eagles.
Do you think in a playoff game they're beating the Packers, the Bucks, the Rams?
I think saw them in trouble with the Rams. I still think the Rams will be the team to come out of the NFC. So I'm not wavering there. But as of right now, the Rams will get it together. But as of right now, I think the Eagles, obviously the record shows it, but that's not the reason why. I just feel like they've got it figured out right now. Yeah, I just think they had it figured out. And when it goes with Tampa and Green Bay, Green Bay, I still have them winning that division. I don't know why, but I do. It's hard to go against Rodgers during the regular season, regardless the trash team that he actually has. And then Tampa, Brady doesn't care. He's not here to play football anymore.
Well, they also have the same issue as the Chargers, where all their injuries are their Pro Bowl level talents. Like their receiving core has been decimated, but I'm right there with you.
Also, some of that is self-inflicted.
Oh, yeah. Well, and yeah, like you said, Brady looks like he should have probably stayed retired. Looks like he's wishing he stayed retired. Like, it just looks like it's been a real rough season so far for Tom Brady. We're only 3 weeks in. He's scoring 12 points against the Packers, and the Packers look great on the first 2 drives. They go right down the field, score 2 touchdowns, and then they do nothing the rest of the game. So again, I'm still cautiously optimistic about my Eagles.
Right after that fumble from Aaron Jones in Green Bay, their offense stopped. They stopped producing. Nothing went for them after that.
Well, and that's always been the knock on Aaron Rodgers, right? When everything's going great, he's the best quarterback who's ever played the game. The second something goes wrong, he just shuts down. It's almost like he just throws his hands up in the air and is just like, all right, I'm done.
We're not playing perfect football. Why should I try? Why should I care? Oh man.
But
I don't know. Yours? I gotta check on mine.
Yeah, we could take a break right now. I think that's all we want to talk about with week 3. So we'll come back and we'll talk about the week 4 slate of games. So
You
we'll be
didn't
right
want to
back.
talk about the Detroit Minnesota game?
I mean, real quick, we can talk
Let's
about
do
that. I think the Lions are legit. We've seen them be legit. They have a really good offense. Jared Goff is just, I mean, you give him time, he can pick you apart. Like he's the 15th best quarterback in the league. Like he's like in the middle. I would take him over half the starting quarterbacks we have, but the Lions shouldn't have lost that game. They were up 10. The Vikings had nothing, and then all of a sudden the Vikings come rolling
Vikings came
back
and out of nowhere.
And man, I mean, just you got to feel bad for the Lions. I feel like the Lions and then the Browns before they got Deshaun Watson were just the two teams that, even if you're not a fan of them, you're kind of always just rooting for them just because of they're kind of like lovable losers, right? Like you're, but yeah, I think the Vikings are legit, but again, it's the Aaron Rodgers problem. When you get into a prime time situation with Cousins, or when you get into a big game, like, do you trust Cousins? Like, I don't.
Non-prime time, and it's nothing personal. It's just that's the stats.
Yeah,
prime time games. He's just not good. The moment's too big for him. But yeah, let's take a break there.
Wait, what? Real quick, Casino. Because speaking of that just made me think of that. The Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins comparisons are comparisons people don't want to make, but they're like the same quarterback. So now, speaking of the Cowboys Giants Monday night game, Cooper Rush 3-0 in all 3 of those games. He led fourth quarter comeback wins. Is there a quarterback controversy in Dallas over Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott? Because the only thing we've seen from Dak Prescott this year is struggling against a Buccaneers team that doesn't look nearly as good as that game was indicating, where they were just not doing anything.
The money is theirs. The money's too much for Dak for them not to play him. But are we seeing the same thing? What happened with what happened with Elliott, where you get paid and you don't care?
Well,
you're not trying as hard. You're not trying to get that payday. Is that maybe what's happening with Dak?
Well, I mean, we've seen that before, but also we've seen what the Cowboys do in that situation. Every time Tony Pollard takes the ball, he runs better, harder, faster, like runs behind his line better than Ezekiel Elliott, but they keep making Ezekiel Elliott the starter, giving him the majority of the carries just because, like you said, they paid him money to do that. But right. He's just not the player he once was.
Right. Elliott was 15 attempts for 73 yards and a touchdown. Cool. Averaging 4.9 yards a carry. But Pollard, 13 attempts, 105 yards with an 8.1 average, no touchdowns, because they're just going to give it to Elliott right there at the end, which is just a slap to the face to being the better runner.
Yeah. And this is one of those things where it's like those stats make it look like Elliott is as good as Pollard, but he's not. Like this Giants team, everybody knew this Giants team was fraudulent at 2-0, right? You can't trust Daniel Jones. I've watched enough Daniel Jones games to know that he's not it. He didn't play good in this game. He played okay the first 2 weeks. Their entire offense is Saquon Barkley, right? Like if Saquon is not having a good game, they're not having a good game. We saw that Sterling Shepard just blew out his ACL, just like running down the field. That looked brutal. Like I always hate those non-contact injuries where some guy just looks like he got shot and he just goes down. But they paid all that money to Kenny Golladay and he's non-existent. Like, I don't know what happened to Kenny Golladay. Maybe it's what you're saying, where the second you get paid, you just are like, I mean, fuck it. Who cares? I already have the money. Why play the game? But yeah, I think I am confident. I'm not confident in saying like Eagles are best team in the NFC, right? Just because as a fan, I can't do that. But as a member of the NFC,
the Patriots are the best team in the AFC. I don't know what you're talking about.
As a person whose team is in the NFC East, I almost did it. The Commanders are not a good football team. The Giants are not a good football team. And the Cowboys, I think, have a chance to be the last wild card team in the NFC, but that's just because the NFC is so weak. Like, I mean, we're trying to find like legit contenders in the NFC, and outside of Packers, Buccaneers, Rams, Eagles, like, I don't know who the other, there's 7 playoff teams, right? I don't know who the other 3 teams would be. Like, it would have to be Dallas. But yeah, maybe Lions. I don't know. Vikings. Yeah. But all right, we'll come back. We'll go check on our children, and we'll come back to preview week 4's games. All right, Casino, before we dive into week 4, we did not touch on your Ravens beating your Patriots. So is there anything to add from that game? Anything you want to add? Anything you want to say?
Yeah, the Patriots offensive line needs to be worked on, and they need to give Mac Jones better weapons.
Well, you guys don't love Aguilar? He's the best.
Gosh. I remember when that trade happened, you just reached out to me and just go, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And speaking of him, he's, in my opinion, cost us the game there late, because he was great catch, running down, wasn't protecting the ball, and it got popped out at the 5-yard line. Like,
he's always been as good as he is bad. He's literally a wash at that position. He'll wow you with some plays. He'll cost you.
The previous week in week 2, he made that amazing catch, like on the backside, like reached over and grabbed the ball on the dude's helmet pretty much and caught it in the end zone. And then this week he just doesn't hold on to the ball. And then Mac Jones is injured. He says that he wants to try to play on week 4. Ain't gonna happen. Hoyer's gonna start, or we get the new kid a shot, Zaps or Zapios, or I don't even know his name. That kid, the kid that we just picked up. But yeah, Lamar Jackson looking like the real deal. I can see why he's the MVP candidate right now. He just ran all over our team. We actually held the rest of their rushers to a low amount of yardage, but Lamar put over 100 yards on us. He just, it's hard to stop him.
And I'm tired of this.
He's looking
Lamar,
like that first year Lamar.
Yeah. I'm tired of this narrative that he's not a good quarterback, because he can light you up with his arm. He can light you up with his leg. Like, he's dangerous. Nobody knows how to stop him.
I think the issue with that is he's so dynamic with his legs that when his passing is just mediocre, which, quarterbacks can be mediocre in the passing, even good ones, they're like, oh, he's garbage because he's not as good as he is on the run.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's nobody's as good as him on the run.
He's just amazing on the run. And then his passing is, above middle road, and he's a dangerous quarterback.
Yeah.
So that's where my issue was with the Patriots game, is we had it in hand. We cost us that game ourselves. We too many errors, too many turnovers when we were in position to score. Just was not. Mac Jones played just fine. Everybody's already ready to get Mac Jones out of there. It's hard for a quarterback to be successful if they don't have any options.
Yeah. When
they don't have any options and they're getting rushed, like, you rush 5 on Mac Jones, it's over.
Yeah.
They're going to get to him. So it's frustrating to hear all these people giving up on him already, or calling him a quarterback that has not worked out. I mean, he's actually a decent quarterback, but he needs some help. Yeah, he's not one of those quarterbacks that can go in and play run the game. He's not a Josh Allen, but he's a decent quarterback. But
yeah,
he just, if you give him a little bit of help, he can definitely win you a lot of games.
Well, and we'll transition to talking about the Bengals, but it's the same thing with the Bengals, right? You see the difference when Joe Burrow gets time to pass, they're a Super Bowl team. When he doesn't get time to pass, they're 1-2 and they can't move the offense. Like, there's not a quarterback in the league except for like maybe a Lamar Jackson, maybe a Jalen Hurts, where when they don't get protection, they can just either take off and run or like buy time with their legs. Like, you have 3 seconds to throw and you're getting clobbered. like every time.
Gotcha.
Which no, go ahead.
And then I was just say, just trying to speed it along here, and then two other games I would like of note. The Raiders, they're only 0-3 team,
But they
and
don't
here's
look
the
like
thing,
an 0-3
they
team.
don't look bad. They don't look bad, but their
Dude,
record shows they're horrible.
I'd take them over the Broncos right now, and the Broncos are 2-1. My Super Bowl pick. I'm off the Broncos bandwagon. I'm off it. It took 3 weeks. I'm done, Casino. They're not going to the Super Bowl. I don't even think they'll make the playoffs. They're boring as shit to watch. Russell Wilson comes out with a video a week that makes me hate him. Like, just he's one of the most annoying like football players. They win a just eye gouging experience of a game, the 11-10 game against the 49ers. Jimmy G runs out of the end zone. That game was, I never want to see a 49ers Broncos game that looks like this again, and a Saints Bucks game. Those are the two games I will never watch again in my life with these two teams set up how they are. Just bad. We also, to run through the rest of the games, Falcons beat the Seahawks. Falcons sneaky fun to watch, like the opposite of Broncos. Like,
they are getting a little sneaky,
yeah,
which is interesting.
We also had the Colts upsetting the Chiefs 20-17. I mean, the Chiefs should have won that game 50 different times. Like, that just seemed like a missed opportunity.
It was a bad game. I'm not hitting the panic button on them yet at all.
But now the AFC West, they look like the clear favorites. Like, even with a loss.
Yeah. No, I do think that they will come out now. Chargers, I love their team, but they're all injured now. Yeah. So, I mean, the Chiefs will just move up right into there. So, yeah. And then I think that maybe.
Oh, our Panthers beating the Saints last grasp of hope for them. And then
I'm over
Browns
the Saints already. Oh.
Yeah. Saints, I'm done. Jameis Winston, he's not fun to watch anymore. He's not throwing crazy interceptions, crazy amount of touchdowns. He's just like average now.
He's not 50 touchdowns, 50 interceptions.
No. And that's boring. That was the funnest thing to watch about him. Now he's just like a boring quarterback to watch. Browns still keeping it together without Deshaun Watson. So they might be sneaky. Like, with Mac being out, on my fantasy, I picked up Jacoby Brissett, and it's not because he was a former Patriot. I think he's going to put up some decent numbers. Yeah, he doesn't look too bad. Titans, like you said, barely escaped the Raiders. And then, last game we didn't talk about was Bears-Texans. Justin Fields, not bad. I mean, again, the NFC's wide open. The Bears could sneak in as a wild card. I mean, it's an option. It's possible. Will they?
All right.
Will they? Yeah.
Those two teams are not fun to talk about, in my opinion. They're boring.
What? I thought you're David Mills. You were his number one fan. David Mills. But
thank you for reminding me. I totally forgot. How could I?
We will now transition to week 4. First game, we're recording this Thursday morning. First game of week 4 is tonight. Dolphins Bengals, sneaky good Thursday night game. Who you got on this one, Casino? Dolphins remain undefeated, or Bengals keep bouncing back?
Dolphins remain undefeated. I think just beating the Bills last week. I mean, escaping. Let's just say that, not beating. They escaped the Bills last week. They should be 2-1 right now. But even if they were 2-1, I would still go with Miami. And it's funny because Cincy's actually favored, being in Cincy. They're favored 3.5.
I mean, they look like the Bengals of last year against the Jets last week. But again, it was the Jets.
It's the Jets.
Without Momfucker on it, so you can't really...
Hey, well, Momfucker comes back this week, apparently.
And right? I actually trust them less because Joe Flacco had a couple games where I was like, I don't know.
No, but
we can start calling Zach Wilson that MF, but everybody will think we're saying motherfucker, like motherfucker, but we're actually saying motherfucker. Like, you get what I'm saying? You push the words together.
Because I've seen a certain movie that there's that same joke. It's pretty good. Good job. So, MF is going to be playing. He's eligible to play. Let's see if he does.
Do you think Tua plays this game for Dolphins Bengals?
Oh man.
He's questionable
again,
as now.
It's questionable because I think they actually were like, oh, he does have a concussion.
That has to be it. That has
to be it. But they're gonna blame it on something else because they put him back into that game to win that game. But I think that whatever injury they call it or sickness they call it, it's because he had a freaking because he had a concussion. He smacked his head on that ground. There's no way he didn't.
But he had a concussion 5 days ago. Like, that's the issue, right? He just got it on Sunday, and now they have to play Thursday. Like, that's just terrible timing.
Yeah. So, I mean, if he doesn't play, it's because they're going to be blaming it on something else. They're going to be like, oh, his hip reactivated for a minute.
Dude, if I was a coach, I would always just say groin injury, right? Like, there's nothing to see with the groin injury. You can't really dispute it. You just say groin injury, and then everybody's like, I wouldn't play with a hurt groin. Like, groin injury. That's what I'd say. Casino, whenever you can't record this podcast now, I'm going to say it's because you had a groin injury.
It's not all me, okay? It's not all me.
Okay, when I'm not here, also groin injury. But I am actually picking the Bengals. I think the Tua thing, I don't think he plays. And if he does play, I think it's going to be a mistake. I think the Bengals.
Don't trust Bridgewater. You're so on this Minshew thing.
I don't like Bridgewater. I've never liked Bridgewater. I'm not a Bridgewater guy. I will take Brissett over Bridgewater. I'll take Minshew over Brissett. And those are my backup rankings. I'll take Cooper Rush for fourth. I take him fourth.
Well, you're already talking about Flacco. I mean, you guys see.
Well, Flacco's not a backup. He's a starter as far as I'm concerned. He's better. Zach Wilson, I'll take 5. Zach Wilson is the 5th best backup. Number 1, and you know what? But
number 1 in our hearts.
He's number 1 in my heart, and he's given a lot of people groin injuries, from what I've heard. Next,
this whole season is just gonna be fun talking about the MF.
You know what? Let's just jump to that game because why not? Jets Steelers. Who you got in this one, Casino?
Jets Steelers here. I'm gonna take the Steelers on this one. With not knowing who's gonna be playing for the Jets. And they're still just the Jets. And I mean, the Steelers.
They feel like the Jets too.
Yeah. And the Steelers are the Steelers. Like, if you just go based off of their core philosophy as a institution, like the Jets always have sucked. The Steelers have always been good to where even no matter what personnel they have on there, the Steelers can find ways to win. The Jets can't.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm just going to go with the Steelers.
Yeah. You know what? And I really have nothing else to add. I mean, Mitch Trubisky, he feels like a Jets starting quarterback.
But you're going to add stuff. I nail that pick. And then you're like, I'm not going to add anything. But I want to add.
But doesn't Mitch Trubisky, he seems like in the future, he'll be a Jets starting quarterback, right? He has Jets quarterback written all over him.
Oh, yeah.
All over him. I still want to see Kenny Pickett. I think he would be just make it funner to watch.
Why is he not in there?
Because Mitch Trubisky, he's not been bad. He's fine. He's been serviceable. The Steelers have looked serviceable.
Are they? I thought, the whole thing is they were trying to get him to be the next guy. And why keep Trubisky in there if you were just going to get off of him? But apparently they're not.
No. Well, we talked about that in the season preview, right? Where we were like, why are you doing this bridge quarterback? And now it looks like he's just the quarterback. It doesn't even look like they're making him the bridge. And I mean, he's been decent. He's been fine. Their game last week, I don't even know who they played last week. We just talked about it. They played the Browns and they got their ass kicked by the Browns. He didn't look good, but there's no wavering. Apparently Mitch Trubisky's the guy for reasons unknown, but by everything you just said, I will add nothing except that yeah, it's Steelers. It's Steelers because the Jets are the Jets and the Steelers are the Steelers, and they've never shown anything to separate that.
5 minutes later, the thing that you didn't add. Continue.
Next game, Vikings Saints. I will go first this time. I feel like it's got to be Vikings because the Saints, they have Alvin Kamara. They have a boring Jameis Winston. They have maybe the best wide receiving core in the league that there's like nobody throwing to them. So they are kind of absent, right? They got Michael Thomas. They got Jarvis Landry. They got Olave. And they have Alvin Kamara. And yet their offense is still boring. Jameis Winston is now an average quarterback. I just think the Vikings are better. And it's not in prime time, so I don't feel like betting against, non-prime time Kirk Cousins. So
it's prime time in London.
Okay. So it is kind of prime time because it's a standalone game.
I wasn't going to add anything, but
wait, does that mean you're picking Saints?
No, I'm still picking Vikings.
Yeah, there you go.
Half the reason I have to, because I have Cousins as my starter quarterback for my fantasy team. I bring up my fantasy team a lot here. I mean, I think everybody knows who I have now.
Yeah.
Pretty legit. 12-man league. Crushing it. 3-0.
I got Lamar Jackson, and I'm fucking murdering.
3-0.
So am I, daddy. So am I. Ooh. But yeah, so I think this is
we
Vikings.
Both went 5. Yeah, we both went 5.
If we were just picking fantasy based, undefeated. We're picking actual games. Again, I don't know why you would, or I don't know what gave you the thought that you would, but never bet with our picks. I wouldn't bet with our picks, and we're making them. We're just awful.
But, I will say this, and I try to say this in one of our previous attempts at this episode. One of our many. I don't feel so bad because a lot of these professional sports analysts are picking the same teams we are. So you know what?
Yeah. Well, that's the fun of football, right? Nobody knows what they're talking about it, but everybody talks about it constantly.
And that's why if you win that, you hit that 16-teamer, like
it's like one in a billion shot. Yeah. But so we're both picking Vikings. I kind of like how they do these 6:30 a.m. games. Even when it's my team, I've never woken up at 6:30 to watch them. I like that they're on that early.
My child.
Oh, but that's true.
That's the wife's sleeping day.
Next up, Lions Seahawks. I'm just picking Lions because I think they're better pretty much across the board. Anything for you to add, Casino?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, there you go. Next up, again, another game where I just don't really think there's much to talk about here. Bears Giants. I think I'm just picking the Bears just because I thought the Giants were fraudulent at 2-0, and I trust Fields way more than I trust Jones.
I'm gonna pick the Giants here, just because I wanted. The only reason I'm gonna pick the Giants, because I mean I don't count last week's game against Monday night's game against the Cowboys. It's in division, those division games. I just whatever. It's a wash.
Yeah.
Yada yada yada. Anything can happen in division games. So I'm looking them at 2-0 right now. I don't know, man. I might have been
still think they're legit.
Wrong. I don't know. I expected them not to win a game almost this year. I called them the worst team in the league.
We said this about both these teams.
I gotta give them a little bit of. I'm going Giants, and I'm just doing it until next week, and I could go. I justify it. They suck, or I could be like, you know what? I'm the smartest man alive. Bet me. Bet my picks.
I mean, I'm sure we're all looking forward to next week when the Giants lose to the Bears like 42-3.
Yeah, and then I'll say, you know what? My original take on them was correct. So I mean, it's a win-win here.
That's true. If they win 42-3, then I feel like I deserve some credit. But I don't think the score will be that. Next up, Titans coming off a maybe deserved win against the Raiders, and then the Colts coming against one of the luckiest wins against the Chiefs. So Titans Colts divisional game. Who you got, Casino?
I'm gonna go Titans on this. Remember, this was that division where we were like, all right, so who's going to come out between these two?
Yeah.
And
now it's all Jags.
Yeah. I'm going to go Titans. Because I don't know. I'm going Titans because of that.
I'll tell you why. You're picking the Titans because the Colts are a dumpster fire and they got lucky as shit last week to play a Chiefs team that was like gave them 50 chances to win, and they got lucky the 49th time and just like got lucky with a personal foul and then a last second touchdown. The Colts are garbage. They're one of the worst teams.
They're favored to win this game by 3.5.
I don't know how. I don't know how anyone watched last week's game and is like, the Colts are a decent or good team.
It's because they beat the Chiefs. That's the sole reason.
Yeah. But no confidence whatsoever. No confidence on the Colts team. But I'm picking Titans as well. Maybe, I mean, everybody forgets they were the number one AFC team last year. So could they really have fallen that much to be this bad? I don't think so. Maybe it's just a slow start or something. But I mean, AJ Brown is killing it on the Eagles. So maybe they are missing, some type of offensive spark. Derrick Henry looks
fantasy team. AJ Brown, flex player.
But yeah, let's move on to the next one. Interesting game because who knows what shape Herbert's in. We have Chargers Texans. Do you see the Texans pulling another AFC South upset on the Chargers?
Oh man. No, I think Houston's just too bad. Regardless with what's going on with the Chargers and how injury prone they are, I just can't feel confident at picking Houston at all. And it's not because I'm saying Chargers are going to be good, because they're beat up, as we've been saying. I just can't see Houston winning. I just can't.
I see this just being an ugly, maybe it's like that ugly game we saw last weekend where between the Buccaneers and the Packers, which was just like a slog to watch. This feels like a slog to watch where the Chargers pull it out like 17-13. And it's just boring. And you're just like, the Chargers look really bad, but the Texans look really bad. And then it's just one of these games nobody watches. And then you just look at the box score afterwards and you're like, oh yeah, I expected the Chargers to win. Like, that just feels like.
So put that down right now. Chargers,
me as well. Sneaky, interesting game. Browns, Falcons. Both have been.
Is this the third sneaky, interesting game that you've said so far? Sneaky game?
How many
sneaky games have you said?
Sneaky, interesting is Bears, Giants.
Yep, you said that.
And Vikings Saints. So this is the third.
Okay.
Third.
Look, I'm paying attention. I'm doing my homework.
There you go. But Browns Falcons Casino. Falcons, fun to watch. Mariota looks, he's fun. He's not like boring Jameis Winston. Browns.
I always like watching Mariota play.
Yeah.
I always have, even when he was in college. Like, there's just something fun watching about him, whether he's a great quarterback, good quarterback, or trash quarterback. Because he's been all of those things. He's just fun to watch, in my opinion. I've always enjoyed watching him play.
I completely agree. Something about him. And I don't know why. Like, why do we like watching Mariota play? I can think of one play in his entire career, the one where the pass gets batted back to him.
Yeah, we've talked about that one before. It's great.
And that's literally the only play I know of his entire career. But for some reason, I always would bet like for him. I don't know why.
Fair enough. It's only a -1 for Cleveland, but I am gonna go Cleveland. Half this reason is because I am in a double quarterback league, and I just picked up Brissett. So I gotta go off of that. No, I just think going off of the numbers, as a team in the whole, I think Cleveland's gonna pull this off and take that road victory away. And go on home. That's where I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm also picking the Browns. I just think Hunt and Chubb. I just don't think the Falcons have the rush defense to stop them. The Browns look sneaky good last week. I'll throw in another sneaky. They look sneaky good against the Steelers because I thought the Steelers defense was legit, but they like cut it up and they just. Chubb and Hunt are like still the best running back duo in the league and have been for the past 5 years. Like they just never look like they slow down at all. They don't look like they age. Like we talked about, Derrick Henry just looks like the wheels are falling off, and I feel bad for him. But yeah, I just think Falcons are fun to watch, but I don't think that makes them good. And Browns, or
just
what?
I was just going to say, you're talking about that running defense there. I mean, last week against the Steelers, Chubb 23 attempts for 113 yards, and also Brissett, he was 21 for 31 with 220 yards, 2 TDs. Like,
he's not bad.
No, and I never thought he was bad when he was playing for the Pats. Like,
nope,
he's an okay quarterback. And then I mean, with Indy, I don't know, he just kind of got the shit in the stick, but I'm a fan of Brissett, and yeah, I think they take it away because I on every point that you said, I won't say more about it. The running game,
yeah. Well, and he's the only Browns quarterback that hasn't sexually assaulted masseuses. So right there, another point to his resume. And we will massage on over to our next game, which is the Commanders versus the Cowboys.
That was such a smooth transfer.
Like a smooth massage, ones that you
smooth oiled body
that you paid for, and it was consensual, and then you left without doing anything creepy. As you should. But next up, Commanders Cowboys. There is debate right now. Will Dak Prescott start? Is he ready? Are they going to give him one more week? Cooper Rush. I mean, he's a pretty good quarterback. Like, I don't know where he came from, but
I think if they rush Dak back, it's going to be horrible. Like, their projection on that whole thumb issue was going to be much longer than coming back this week. I think if they play Dak, I mean, I don't know if this is fair, or do you want me to just do a straight out pick? But if they play Dak, I think they lose.
No, just do your straight up. Then every game I could be like, well, if these 5 things happen, this team. If these 5 things happen, this team.
Then I still pick Dallas to win because I actually have confidence in that quarterback. Not Dak, but why am I blanking on his name?
Cooper Rush.
Cooper Rush.
Well, they're also playing just an absolute dumpster fire in the Commanders. I saw them firsthand last week. It was not all Wentz. Wentz got bully balled the entire game, but their wide receivers dropped every open pass they had. Their defense was an absolute sieve. They gave up, to their 2 top wide receivers. I mean, Jalen Hurts was dropping bombs, and they were in like triple coverage, and their wide receivers are coming down with it easily. The Commanders, clear worst team in that division. I would even pick the Giants over them. So I think the Cowboys also, we talked about that 1-2 punch with Hunt and Chubb. Pollard he would be a starting running back on 15 other teams in this league. I think he's just a great running back. They obviously saddle him behind the overpaid, overrated Ezekiel Elliott, but I think they're just going to run it down their throat. They're going to bully. Micah Parsons is just going to bully Carson Wentz all day, and that's going to be a wrap. I think it's Cowboys all day. Next up, another NFC East team, the Jaguars playing at Eagles. Who you got?
That's going to be I'm excited. I'm extremely excited for 2 games this week. This is one of them.
I think this is game of the week with what is the other one?
I don't. I'll tell you which one.
Bills Ravens.
Bills Ravens is going to be
game of the week.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's another pick. But until Philly loses, I'm going to go with Philly just because everything that we've been talking about, Jalen Hurts looks like he can do it both ways. All of his weapons are actually functioning pretty damn perfectly. It's not just because I have half their team on my roster. I just like Philly a lot.
Yeah.
I think Jacksonville's going to make it a game. I don't like the 6.5 for the Eagles.
That's insane. Did anybody watch that game last week? The Jaguars played. How the hell is this game 6.5?
And here's the thing. Like I said, even if Herbert played and they had all those other players, I still don't see the Jaguars not putting up those points.
Yeah,
it was going to be a close game. I think that this will be another close game. But I do have Philly coming on top. It's supposed to be rainy, 56 degrees. It's supposed to be nasty and fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I hope that it does stay rainy and nasty because I want to see what all these weapons can do for both teams in bad conditions.
Yeah, I am opposite of you. I am now picking the Eagles to lose every game until they actually do lose a game, and then I will get off my what's that called? Like my superstitious
bandwagon.
Yes, I will jump on the bandwagon and pick them to lose or pick them to win every game after they lose their first one. So I'm picking the Jaguars this week. I just think they come off, but the case against them is come off a big win, against a depleted Chargers team. Now they're playing one of the healthiest teams in the league, which is the Eagles, which is crazy to say because ever since the Super Bowl year, they've had crazy injury bugs and they've been the Chargers every year with injuries.
Yeah. I mean, you almost cried that year when they beat I was there with you at the pub when they beat the Cowboys, or was it the Cowboys?
No, it was the Giants.
It was the Giants, right? Just to make the playoffs. And you're like, how in the hell did they make the playoffs? Like, this is the greatest day of my life.
Dude, that was the game where Daniel Jones ran almost an 80-yard touchdown and then tripped over himself to save the touchdown. Like, that was, again, those are the games I'm used to the Eagles playing, where it's a 14-13 game against Daniel Jones who's tripping over his feet like a baby giraffe. And, but this game, I think the Jaguars, like, the way to win this game is Doug Peterson knows this team, right? It's basically the same team he had with better weapons. He's the one that drafted Jalen Hurts. He is probably the one who knows how to stop Jalen Hurts. So
well, here's the thing. He may know how to do this, but the players got to play.
That's true. Well, that's why we play the games, right? And I think...
What are you talking about? I thought we just picked this and we showed up the next episode and there was numbers that we could talk about.
But I am interested. Hopefully this game is a close game just because I want to see the Eagles play a close game because they've had 3 weeks in a row where it's been blowout and a done game by halftime. So I want to see how they handle a close game going into the second half. But for that reason, I'm picking the Jags. Hopefully I'm wrong. But let's move on to best game of the week in both of our opinions. Bills-Ravens. Who you got in this one, Casito? Do you think this is a better game than Bengals Dolphins?
Yes.
Me too. There you go. I think those are the three games this week, right? Yeah. Jaguars, Eagles, Bills, Ravens, Bengals, Dolphins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think this one is, I mean, you got the top two. Well, I would say Jalen Hurts would be number 2 on my pick for MVP, but you got my 1 and 3 with Josh Allen and Jackson here. Yeah, Jackson being my runaway pick right now.
Agreed.
Just the numbers that he's putting up on the ground again. It's just, this looks like his MVP year again. But I do pick Buffalo on this one. They are favored by 3 against Baltimore. Again, raining, 58 degrees. Hopefully it's that, and we just get a super fun where Baltimore's just going to run it every play so they don't have to worry about the rain. And again, not saying Lamar Jackson's a bad passing quarterback, but, he's above the mediocre, just above. But, during a rainy game, why not run it and hold it? You're slippery. There's too much massage oil going on around there.
No, that's Cleveland. That's Cleveland.
Oh, yeah. But I just don't think Buffalo is going to lose another one after how bad their coordinator in the booth went off on them. That video that's a
great video,
dude.
That's how everybody I know feels when their team loses, like a close game. Like that is how I react to every Eagles loss right there.
Well, right now, I'm doing pretty good because I had such a high for so long that I'm still kind of riding off that. Yeah, riding that wave, and we haven't hit shore yet. It was a tsunami. And we haven't, started to die yet. So, so I haven't cried myself to sleep every day yet. Eventually, but I do have Buffalo winning. And what's your take on it?
I had Buffalo winning, and I scratched out the Bills and wrote the Ravens because I don't trust. I love this Ravens offense. This Raven defense, when you're giving up 6 passing touchdowns to Tua, like everybody, AKA Noodle Arm, everybody calls Tua Noodle Arm, and yet he was lighting up the Ravens for 6 touchdowns. And then you saw last week where the Ravens lost to what? They lost to
us, the Patriots.
Oh, no, they won against the Patriots, but still,
they won. But that's what I mean.
3 interceptions from Mac Jones, and still the Patriots team is putting up 20 plus points. Like, and they have nobody to throw to.
And they had the chance to win that game if Aguilar didn't get taken from behind. Because if he didn't get taken from behind, I think it would have been like a 4-point lead on them. And now they're having to play from behind. So that game came down to that play in particular, but we gave them the chance. I mean, like I said, 3 interceptions. Like, yeah, we gave them the opportunity, or it was actually more than 3 interceptions.
No, it was 3.
It was 3.
Yeah.
I tried to watch that game, and again, tidal wave.
No, you know what? Now I changed my mind. I'm going back to the Bills. I'm picking the Bills. I talked myself out of the Ravens. I've gone Bills, Ravens, back to Bills. I just think.
But what about the Ravens on the run, man? Are the Bills going to be able to stop that Raven run?
I mean, I trust the Bills defense. I know. I trust the Bills defense more than I trust the Ravens defense. I think the Ravens defense is just a sieve. They just give up touchdowns to literally everybody. Why not this Buffalo team bouncing back from just a rough Dolphins?
The Ravens need murderers back on their team again to be successful. They've lost all their ferocious tendencies, or they need to pull the Alka-Seltzer simulation thing.
Oh man, we're taking shots this episode. Taking shots, but yeah,
no, we don't want to take shots because this is why we couldn't record one of them the other night. I was too lit.
That's true. And speaking of shots, Ray Lewis is not showing up for this Ravens defense, so I'm picking Bills all day. I don't think the Ravens stop them. I trust the Bills defense. This seems like what's the over on this game?
The over's 51.
Dude, I'm betting that all day. Over. Bills, Ravens. Next, we go to probably a game that will not be over 51 points. Cardinals, Panthers. I'm going against my gut here. I'm picking Panthers. I think they ride the wave from last week, the wave of momentum, getting their first win of the season. I'm picking Baker Mayfield over Kyler Murray. Who you got, Casino?
We've wanted to be Baker fans for so much, and they finally got their win.
And it wasn't a good win at all. No. That game was ugly. What is the line on this one? Who's favored?
Carolina by 1.5.
Ooh.
Over under 43.5. As of right now, which is a Thursday afternoon.
Thursday at 2:30. Would you consider the Panthers winning this game? Would you consider it an upset?
I don't know.
I mean, 1.5. 1 to me is always just like pick 'em, right?
I'll be honest. I want Baker to win, but I'm gonna pick the Cardinals on this one.
Any reason why? Just think they're the better team, more complete?
I don't want both of us to go 5 picks, so I want one of us to do well and one of us not to do well.
I mean, there you go. Bet with your heart. Bet with your heart, Casino. I just think the Panthers, they have weapons, right? And the Cardinals defense doesn't scare me. Maybe this is a Christian McCaffrey game over a Baker Mayfield game. They obviously got Robbie Anderson. I don't know. I have nothing really to add to this game. I'm just picking the Panthers just because I want them to win.
You have nothing else to say about this game? All right, start the clock, guys. Everybody. 5 minutes.
Moving on to the next game, Broncos, the most boring team to watch in the league against the Raiders, who shouldn't be 0-3. They're the only 0-3 team in the NFL, and they feel like they should be 2-1. Like just how watching them play.
Yeah, I'm going with Raiders on this one. And if they don't win this game,
Then it's over. It's done.
Josh McDaniels, you're never going to get a coaching job, not even an offensive coordinator job. Bill Belichick won't even take you back. Actually, he might, because Patricia's so bad at calling plays.
And no, this feels like a year where McDaniels gets fired and then hired as a staff member of Alabama next year, right? Like this feels like his trajectory of moves.
Oh yeah, he's getting demoted out of the NFL.
Yeah, because he can't. How many bites at the apple do you get to be a head coach where you just can't be a head coach?
And here's like the thing: even with him being in New England, I didn't like him for probably the last 5 years of him in New England, and you saw it. Brady and him were always going at each other's necks. And I only think the Patriots were good offensively during that time because Brady was calling shots at the line.
Yeah.
How many audibles he called at the line. So I wanted to have so much faith in McDaniels. I mean, I want to see him do well. You know, I'm not a Raiders fan, but they are where we live. So, you know, I wanted to see them. I wanted to see them do okay and not be a complete shit show. But it is fun to see and laugh at all those Raider fans in town that are like, oh, they're so good, and you're like, yeah, they're 0-3 now because they're the worst team in the league. They have a worse record than the damn Houston Texans.
Yeah,
Houston's got to tie.
I mean, we had the Raiders at least vying for a wild card spot. I still think they could, because the AFC West doesn't look as strong as we originally thought it was, but I still think they're potentially the worst team in that division, right? Would you take, yeah. I mean, the Chargers obviously are getting hit with the injury bug. The Broncos,
Denver's the worst team in that division.
Oh, I agree. I'd take the Raiders right now over the 2-1 Broncos. The Broncos just look absolutely garbage. Their coach looks like when it comes time to make a decision, he makes the worst one. Like the worst choice possible every time. He doesn't look like he knows how to manage a clock. Like Broncos just look shit. Raiders look, again, they just look like they're getting the short end of the stick. Last year it was the Lions, where you always have that team where they lose 1-score games, right? And they just come out on the losing end of, like, probability wise games they should win half of, but for some reason they lose all of them. And yeah, but it's still, all this being said, I'm still picking the Raiders. I don't trust the Broncos. The Broncos have shown me nothing. They scored 11 points last week, and it was because Jimmy G ran out of the back of the end zone. Like, don't trust the Broncos at all. Now, your team is next. Patriots, Packers. Aaron Rodgers, I saw this stat yesterday. He's only played the Patriots in his career twice. He's 1-1. So does he beat your team? Does your team win? What are you picking?
Get ready for this hot take.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, Green Bay crushes us. I don't think that the -9.5, because the over under 40.5. I don't like that call, to be honest. Even if Mac Jones is playing, we have Hoyer playing, or the kid. I'm going to stand by my pick, no matter how much I think Green Bay is not a good team and how much I hate Rodgers and how he gives up. I just don't see the Patriots pulling this ugly game. It's going to be an ugly game.
Oh, yeah. This has ugly written all over it. I didn't like the Packers' offense last week. No. Their defense is legit.
And saying what you're saying with sorry to cut you off, but the Packers' offense, you say you're not liking them. The New England defense is still pretty good. Like, they're not amazing, but they are definitely still a Bill Belichick style defense. And that's really the only thing keeping them in games is the defenses. They're not really getting a lot of turnovers. But they are doing that bend, don't break to try to keep our team somewhat into it, or my team somewhat into it. But I still think the Packers come out on top on this one. I don't agree with that -9.5.
No, that's crazy.
I don't see the win. I would love the win, but I would, that would make my Sunday. I wouldn't need to watch anything else. I'd just go probably sit in the backyard drinking more booze, because apparently, we've talked on the show, or it's shown on the show that I am got a drinking problem. By the way, this isn't water.
What is that? Are you serious?
No, it's water.
Oh, I was going to say Jesus. But yeah, for all the reasons you said, Packers over Patriots, I think this is going to be an ugly game, but I would not touch this game betting wise with a 10-foot pole. 9.5 is insane. Like, I don't think everybody just keeps penciling the Packers in as like the NFC champion chip team.
Not NFC champion. Like I said, I do want to think, I still want to ride them out saying that they're going to be the division. They're division champs, which it shouldn't be that way, but it's hard not to think that because Rodgers just does okay. And like sometimes they just win.
Yeah.
No matter how ugly it is or how much he gives up, they just win.
But anyway, what game this Packers season has impressed you? They got the doors blown off week 1 against the Vikings.
None have impressed me, but that's what I'm saying. He just somehow wins.
Yeah.
And then that's why everybody thinks he's amazing. And then he just screws it in the playoffs. Do you have any more to touch on this game, or are we moving on?
Well, no, I just want to address what the Packers season so far has been. Blow the doors off the Vikings week 1, blow the doors or get the doors blown off week 1 versus the Vikings, blow the doors off the Bears week 2, and then last week put up 14 points against a suspect, maybe okay Buccaneers defense. So 1 bad game, 1 good game, 1 mediocre game. Like, I don't know why there's all this hype for the Packers. Like, Aaron Jones has been decent to non-existent. Like, I don't think he's showing what he needs to show for this team to win. And Rodgers has been average Rodgers. Like, I don't know, man. I just think this is one of those 21 to 14 games. Like, nothing. Last 2 games, underrated game, maybe we're not giving enough credit to in terms of like the games of the week. Chiefs Buccaneers, a rematch of that Super Bowl. Do you think it's a repeat where the Bucs win or Chiefs bounce back after an embarrassing loss?
This is a pick 'em as of right now, and I think the Chiefs will roll them. I do. I think Brady's still in that funk. That team is not still healthy, and I think the Chiefs were so embarrassed last week
that they're just going to bring all their good stuff to this game.
They're just going to bring it out, and they're just going to crush them. I mean, and also Mahomes, he wants to play good against Brady because he keeps getting compared to Brady as the next Brady. So of course,
and Brady keeps beating him. Even though he plays good in games against Brady, but. Yeah, for reasons you said, Tom Brady has not looked like Tom Brady this whole season. Patrick Mahomes, even in a loss last week, he didn't look bad. Like, he still had a average Patrick Mahomes game, which is a better game than most quarterbacks have. I think it's the Chiefs, but I don't know. That Buccaneers defense has always gotten to Mahomes. We always go into this game being like, it's Mahomes versus Brady. And then it always ends up being a Buccaneers defense that's underrated, undervalued. I just underrated them, undervalued them against Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. I'm still picking the Chiefs, but this might be a repeat of Packers Bucs last week, where it's 14-12. It's like much closer than people think.
Shorter game or lower scoring game, but a little more interesting, I hope.
Yeah. And last game of the week, Monday night, Rams versus 49ers. Jimmy G, a Jimmy G led 49ers team. Who you picking in this one, Casino?
I'm going to go with Rams. I mean, I don't dislike the Niners here, but the Rams are my pick coming out of the NFC still. That I think they put up another W. And that is my only reason on that. Feel free to elaborate or shame me or whatever you would like to do.
I don't know. 49ers defense still maybe the best defense in the league. They look like they're just firing on all cylinders. The Broncos literally could do nothing last week. And Jimmy G just gives this team a spark, even when he's not good. Like, it's just weird the effect he has on this team by not really affecting it. Like, I just don't understand the dynamic he has with this team. Deebo Samuel, he's still someone you have to prepare for, but they're also Jalen Ramsey. I don't know. This is one of those. Who's the favorite in this game? It's got to be the Rams, right?
It's actually the Niners by 1.5.
Is this in? This is in.
This is in San Francisco, so there's your
I don't know. Again, that NFC West is so weird with who beats who all the time. I'm picking the Rams, but I'm not confident in this one at all. I could see the 49ers very easily shutting down Stafford. Maybe this is a Stafford game where he throws 3 picks and they lose by a touchdown, but I'm picking Rams.
So what you're saying is Stafford's wearing a Detroit jersey underneath his Rams jersey?
I mean, who knows? Maybe. He just has not impressed me this season either, but I feel like no quarterbacks have really stepped up this year.
He may not really even care. He got his Super Bowl, dude. He proved everybody that he could win a Super Bowl if he was on a different team, and now he's just like, meh.
No NFC quarterbacks this year have impressed me outside of Jalen Hurts, and everybody thinks he's still a fraud. So I don't know.
So I mean, just to kind of touch on that, I think it's just a lot has to do with just so many personnel changes in coaches, in quarterbacks, in it's absolutely fun to watch this year. We said it was going to be fun to watch this year, and it really is all over the board.
Yeah, no, it really is. And offense and scoring are way down this year compared to last year. So maybe that is, to your credit, what you're saying is just so many personnel changes and everybody's just trying to figure out their systems. I mean, we're only going into week 4. So there are week 4 picks for this week. I'm sure we will pick every single one of those right and come back next week, waving the flag that we hit a 16-team parlay.
Well, we have just picked the different ones. So one of us is going to be right, one of us is going to be wrong.
Obviously, it will be me. I will have picked all the games right and come back and brag next week. Casino, is there anything else you want to touch on week 4 before we move on?
Just a couple things that are not super related with the actual play, but Terry Bradshaw, I'm sure a lot of people saw, had his little debacle trying to read the highlights. Apparently he's got a lot of health issues going on. He had a tumor, right? You said tumor behind his heart.
Yeah.
That it's not cancerous, apparently is what they're telling us, but he had surgery on said spot and he was a little off. So, but pretty much just want to say, thoughts out for him. Best wishes. Hope he recovers and he doesn't get pushed into trying to do. I'm sure he wasn't pushed into. I'm sure he was also trying to get back out there, but having to deal with all of his medical stuff and still go out. So hopefully he takes a little bit of time for himself and gets healthy.
Yeah. It's always weird when you see those like mythical figures, like from like our childhood. Obviously he's been on TV my entire life. And then you just see him kind of slowly age before your eyes. And then obviously age catches up to everyone and, medical issues and stuff like that. I remember when John Madden, you could kind of start seeing him, like age was winning and it was just sad because it's kind of just like, TV dad, TV grandpa, like that whole kind of vibe. So yeah, hopefully, we don't see it obviously happen live in front of our eyes, but I don't think he's going to step away. So it's kind of sad that we're gonna, but
so I know that we're kind of trying to cram 2 episodes, almost like 3 episodes into one thing, but let's just kind of touch over a couple other things with couple other sports. So last night, Aaron Judge, even though I hate the Yankees, he hit an AL tying home run record,
61.
He's still got a few more games to get that all out record to himself. The AL is a little less than the NL record. The NL record, the top one is 70. What did we say? It was
73, I believe.
73. But I mean, that's like you have the Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, all out of the NL, and that was during the Royd era. So it's pretty impressive with what Judge is doing, and I'm like trying to swallow my vomit as I say that, being a Red Sox fan. But it is pretty damn impressive with what he's doing as of late. And then
do you see, my one question with this is obviously it's super impressive what he's doing. Nobody else is doing this, and nobody's done it or come this close since 2001, obviously with Barry Bonds when he did hit 73. So do you think he will be viewed as the new record? Let's say he hits 62, we'll be generous and say 63. Do you think he will then be viewed as the all-time home runs leader in a season? Because obviously there's asterisks on Bonds, McGuire, and Sosa.
Definitely he'll be the AL with no asterisks, but I mean, he'll be the outright leader. You still have to hit the ball. So we tried to talk about this in the episode that failed, that you still have to hit the ball. Like, it's still tough to hit that ball. Yes, it gives you extra power, but pitchers. So here's the thing. Like, pitchers are harder to hit nowadays. So that is a little bit more impressive. Not saying that they weren't hard to hit in, the late 90s, early 2000s, but there's more pitches. There's more ways that pitchers are staying healthy. The pitching is a little more dynamic. They're watching pitch counts and all that stuff. So I want to try to like nil that out where I do think Aaron Judge, I would say that Aaron Judge, not on paper, but into a lot of people's eyes, he will be the big home run hitter of all time.
Yeah.
Right now.
Well, that's like how a lot of people say Hank Aaron's still the home run leader, right? Because they just dismiss everything Bonds did because he's obviously admitted to using steroids. But I think I'm in the same camp as you, which is you still have to hit the ball. There was a bunch of guys, pitchers included, in that era who were all juicing. And there's 3 guys we can pick and just be like, they were hitting home runs more than everybody else by a large margin. Like, if everybody was juicing, why wasn't everybody doing it? Because like you said, you still have to hit the ball. It's still one of the hardest things in sports to do, right? Is hitting a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. And like you're saying, it's gotten harder with how much pitchers have gotten better. And, they're switching out pitchers in games based on pitch count. So you're always batting against one of the best pitchers, not just in the league, but maybe of all time, if, compared to how it used to be for guys like Hank Aaron or Barry Bonds or Babe Ruth and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think he'll obviously be the AL leader ever, but I still think I would be like, Bonds hit 73 in a year. Aaron Judge is going to hit 63, maybe 64. Like, it's not close enough to where I would be like, he's better than Bonds. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
that's fair. Yeah. So with that being said, like, once playoff baseball actually starts, we'll start hitting that a little bit heavier. Same with hockey is about to start. I've been watching a lot of preseason hockey, which has been quite exciting. This is why we're going to try to get to about an hour and a half to 2 hours every episode, twice a week. But last thing we should talk about,
wait, before you move on, let me touch on that because I know I wrote it out to you and sent it to you. So next week on one of the shows, we'll obviously be doing the NFL, like we've been doing, but we're also going to do a MLB playoff, like preview prediction, like we did with the NFL season. We're going to do one for NHL the week after that. And then the week after that, we're going to do one for the NBA. So MLB ending, NLH and NBA starting. So we'll definitely have shows dedicated to just those things like we did with the NFL. But now go on with what you're saying, Castillo.
And also just with that being said is since we're not doing this every single day and we don't have as many hours, we're not going to probably deep dive into every sport and every team. So just kind of giving you guys a heads up on that. We will
just do like
touch on the important
overview.
things. We're just trying to do the overview. I mean, because even with the football picks right now, we could dissect every single thing. We could get into stats on every single player, and do what these.
There's no other sports podcast. I don't know what you're talking about.
I didn't say it. I was just gonna say what you see on TV. Commentators, not podcasters. Commentators are saying. But anyway. So let's touch on this one last thing. The NBA a little bit more than me, but The Boston Celtics, my Boston Celtics.
Ugh.
It was consensual.
So the Boston Celtics coach, which my internet just went down, so hopefully that doesn't affect the stream, but I just had that up. Let me pull that up real quick. But the Boston Celtics coach, whose name I am blanking on at the moment. Let me pull it up. Ime Udoka. I'm sorry.
I said, thank you for saying, because I can never get his name right.
Dude, I'm so bad. If you've watched any of my other videos on movies on my YouTube channel, you know I'm terrible with names. But
I've been forced to watch them by you. But yes.
Yeah. But so he is in one of the weirdest like sports, real, whatever you want to call it, scandals right now, where he has been suspended for the entire oncoming NBA season, which starts at this point in like 3 weeks, for a consensual affair he had with a coworker. But the NBA has not said anything about this. This was all in-house with the Celtics, where they suspended him for the entire season. There's rumors he'll be fired maybe halfway through the season, end of the season, and might never coach again in the NBA. So there's a bunch of speculation as to what actually is going on, because why would a consensual affair between two adults? Now, obviously, this is in a post-Me Too environment where, you know, the power dynamics of he was in control, in charge. There's obviously people below him on the totem pole, including this woman who he's having a consensual relationship with. But is it really consensual? Is there other things to the story? Is there other women involved? That's obviously the meat and potatoes or the speculation surrounding this story. But I don't see, Casino, how somebody can get fired for an affair and then maybe never have that job again. That just seems like, I don't want to say overkill, but that just seems like an insane punishment.
We're both married, and you know, the whole affair thing. I don't got mine on. Ladies. Men.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, so obviously it's not good if he's having an affair anyway, but everything that we've heard so far, it's been a consensual thing. She's come out and stated it's been a consensual thing. Doesn't make it good, but there has to be more to this story, as you're saying, because it's either one of the biggest overreactions by a sports team, because I mean it's that guy's personal life. Yeah.
Well, and he just took his team to the NBA Finals, so clearly he's a good coach. Like, to go that extreme is just crazy.
Without trying to deal with it in house. You know what I mean? Not instead of trying to deal with like, hey, you know, you're having an affair. That's not cool. You know, it's not going to look good on us. So, you know, come out, make an apology statement, leave your wife. We'll fine you.
We'll suspend you 8 games,
or you know, leave your wife because you fell in love with this lady. You know, just like make it work. You know, figure it out.
I don't know,
but there has to be more to it. There might be a massage therapist. It always seems to be massage therapists.
It always
seems to be some sort of help when it comes what am I trying to think of, like physical training help or something like that, you know, something for the body. It's always that.
Well, the one other wrinkle to this story that we have not talked about is one of the most famous NBA shit talkers, Matt Barnes. He obviously, when this story broke, came out right away and was like, this is bullshit. Like, this coach is getting railroaded, just went off on the Celtics organization for suspending him. Then he learned something, talked to somebody, because he immediately came out the next, I don't know if it was within hours or the next day, retracted his statement and just was like warning everybody not to defend this guy and wait till they hear the whole story, and there's shit in there you won't believe and blah, blah, blah. Now, obviously this is just coming from him, but to have that type of guy, like famous shit talker, do such a 180 after quote unquote like learning the story or like finding out more stuff about the story, there just has to be something in this story. Like, there's no way it's just cheated on his wife, consensual relationship, and that's what all the issues is. Like, no way, man. No way.
No.
Even in a post-Me Too world, like, that's not a story that leads to this kind of punishment.
Correct.
Like,
in my opinion, that's not just us being, straight white males. Like, that's just, and I'm not trying to, be funny about that. I'm being serious. That just seems ridiculous of something else is going on. And I'm almost excited. Like, even though it's my team and I want them to do well again, like, I'm almost excited to know what's going on.
Ugh. I just don't want it to be anything bad.
They have me so intrigued.
I just hope it's nothing bad. I just but you look at
gotta be bad. It's either got to be bad or the biggest overreaction in a long time.
Well, if it's bad, why are you excited to hear about it?
Okay, interested. I'm very interested. I'm very, like, it's intriguing to know what the hell is going on. When, like you said, like, that guy goes a complete 180, on a statement, and there's something there. And now it's just like, okay, well, you have my attention.
Well, and then you look again, we've joked about it before, but obviously it's no laughing matter in like a real world sense of what Deshaun Watson did. There were 40 women who were saying he did just like heinous shit, and he got like a 12-game suspension. Like, that's it. And this is one consensual relationship is what the story is. And he may never coach again. Like, the insane polar opposites of those two types of punishments for what they're both being accused of, like, absolutely fucking insane. And then again, so the Celtics coach, we're going to have to hold off what we think about him until we learn the full story, because right now I feel bad for him, but in a week when the real story comes out, I might be like, this guy's a piece of shit. Nice segue here, Casino, to a person who's a known piece of shit doing more piece of shit things. Brett Favre stealing welfare money to build volleyball courts. Literally sounds like an Onion article headline, but it's real life. Known Hall of Fame quarterback, also Hall of Fame piece of shit with the whole Jen Sturgis thing when he was on the Jets, just sending her like unsolicited dick pics, because you're always going to get away with it when you send unsolicited dick pics to a reporter. It's literally the thing they do, is get news out into the media. But we have fucking Wrangler jeans idiot over here, fucking old guy, Brett Favre, now just texting again, leaving a paper trail right back to his front door, texting a governor like, hey, can we steal welfare money to build volleyball courts? Like, Hall of Fame garbage human being. Do you have anything to add, Casino?
No.
See, but the Celtics thing, it's like, that story is interesting because there's mystery surrounding it. The Brett Favre thing, there's no mystery surrounding it. Brett Favre's a piece of shit. He should probably go to jail for what he did. He should definitely pay back money or be fined. The governor, it's like, that story is just about corruption in the government and about the 1%, and always keeping down and poor people. Like, that's not surprising.
The corruption in the government, and like, we're not going to get a political podcast here, but like, outside of Brett Favre really kind of being the person kind of pushing this forward, like, because he's already said, he's what he did was bad. And I feel like he's trying to bring it to light more because he doesn't want to be the only fall person. He wants to bring to light what the governor did, what all these other politicians or whatever that were a part of this deal. And, like, oh, this is something that happens all the time. Don't just be mad at me. Be mad at everybody.
I'm the gunslinger. Why are you going to be mad at me? It's everybody. It's a team sport.
They gave me the bullets. I'm just the one that's going to shoot it and make volleyball courts. What's that?
Especially
Wrangler jeans.
God.
Oh, I mean, that's a good connection right there. I don't know if you Wranglers and gunslinger, like, hey.
Oh, hey, there you go. I wonder if that's why they hired him. But Yeah, just Brett Favre. I loved watching Brett Favre play. He was one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch. Everything outside of football, Brett Favre is garbage. He seems like a fucking asshole. He seems like a piece of shit. Like, fuck Brett Favre. And on that note, Casino, you got anything else to add, or can we wrap this episode up?
No.
Yeah. No, all right. Well, third time was clearly the charm. We are this podcast will actually release. The other two will be archived, except for the parades bit, where you also give credit to the WNBA.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was nice for, and this is all part of the rant because BJ says things about this, but it was cool that being Las Vegas native, that we have a championship here now for our team, and I will say that. But then BJ's going to trump that in his thing, and you'll see a tired BJ. You'll see a half blitzed Casino.
Yes, you'll see creepy lighting on your part.
Oh, I was trying to do it in the spare bedroom
at night. It's real creepy, Jason Voorhees vibes. But yeah, that's why we had to redo that episode, and you got this lovely episode.
I was the only reason.
No, I was also tired and had no energy. Not this
until this rant, and that's why it was the best. By the way, the wife just pulled up. I said we're playing in her room. I gotta go. So peace out, everybody.
All right, adios, Casino. Subscribe, do all the podcast stuff. Adios, Casino. It is late. Do you have anything else you would like to talk about before we end?
I really want to touch on this. So in our first couple episodes, I talked about the Aces, woo, WNBA. But how the Aces actually brought a first title back to Vegas, professional sports title, which is cool. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked about that, being born and raised here. But I know somebody who wasn't. I want to hear your hot take.
Well, I'm going to spring this new hot take on you.
Okay.
I keep seeing this thing that you keep saying, which is first professional sports title to Las Vegas. Las Vegas has only had professional sports since 2017. We're in 2022. It's been 5 years. Everybody keeps saying this, like we've had a team here since the 1890s. And it's like this groundbreaking, like, oh, we've been waiting 100 years for this. We've had professional sports in our hometown of Vegas for 5 years. All right. So that's hot take number one. It's awesome. They're the first, but it's also like we haven't been starved for a championship. We've had a team for 5 years. But
this is why I want to bring this up. I knew this would be a fun one to end on.
That's hot take number one. Hot take number two, championship parades are fucking dumb. Okay, I don't care what team sport it is. I don't care if it's the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, WNBA. I don't care what sport it is. Parades in the middle of major cities are fucking dumb. They've always been dumb. You get one on Thanksgiving. You get the Macy's Day Parade. That's it. No more parades. Parades are for children, and children don't even like parades because they realize how uninterested they are. Do fireworks at your home stadium like an adult. Don't do free tickets. The team can come to the stadium. Fans can fill the arena, can fill the stadium wherever they play their home games. Have them come there, have the team come up on the podium, say some words, dance around, give free drinks to the audience, whatever, and then just call it a day. Have fireworks. Everybody loves fireworks. Parades are dumb. They're for children. Children don't even like them. Having them on a Tuesday at 5 p.m. in the middle of rush hour, when some of us have to work down by the strip and get stuck in traffic for an hour for a stupid fucking whoever planned that parade. Why would you not put it at Sunday or Saturday at noon? Why would you put it a weekday at rush hour, the most busy time of day possible, 5 p.m.? It just going down one of the busiest streets in the entire world. It's dumb. I hate them. I hate championship parades. I've always hated them. Parades are dumb. Do fireworks at the stadium like an adult.
Oh man, that made me happy.
I'm going to sleep
You
good
good?
tonight. Yeah. All right, Casino. This has been episode 4 of the Only Sports Podcast. I can't believe nobody's tried to start another sports podcast, but we're clearly doing it the best because nobody can follow in our footsteps. Do you have anything to say to our wonderful fans who you claim not to hate, but I haven't seen you not hate them?
You guys suck. No, I won't be taking many fishing trips for a while, so
There you go.
I'll be around.
I want you to put this podcast before everything in your life, including family, vacation, leisure. This is number 1 now.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll let you come over to my house and tell that to my daughter's face. Just, you can get right down to her level and just be like, "Yo,
I'll gladly tell it. I'll tell her. I'll tell her next time I see her.
It's a her.
Yeah, I'll tell her. I'll tell it. I'll tell everybody.